problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
In the world of creation, we had the two extremes, except in the case of the Creator and Mitra, where we could never bring the functionality of the soul within the functionality of physicality. We had the physicality hidden within the soul, or soul within the physicality, or in conjunction of the two, one would never have the understanding of the totality, where we could transit but exist in both directions. With the new cycle, this is what Einstein said: when you turn one atom, the other atom changes. This new dimension will blow that field which commonly exists between all the cells of the universe into that position, which means all the created things, as a gift from the Creator in a way, become able to transmute between the two dimensions. There's a reason for this, and it's taken a long time for it to be done, and it has reached its pinnacle and it will be completed. It's already in the process of being completed. Was to take from the essence of the soul of every created things of the time, beginning of time, an essence of the creation of the soul or the center, and create a new creature which carries all the essence of the created in the new soul, which can with it go from the soul of the Creator to the soul of physicality of Mitra. This is what the whole knowledge is. The Creator is the universe, and Mitra the dimension of physicality and its behavior towards the dimension of physicality. And with a new system, every creature in the universe will have the understanding of the capability to transmute between the two. This has a lot of implication for all races in the universe, because now they all become the same. In the coming time, we will see even change in the position of galaxies, position of universes. Many systems will move due to the changes which has been brought. Man doesn't have that knowledge as such to monitor, but we'll have the knowledge to see, we'll have the time to see that with the new fields, as we call it, a lot of things will move in the right position to keep that ability to change between the two. That you don't need to kill to keep the physicality going, you don't need to steal, and the soul does not need to be engaged or to escape, to be out on its own, to be able to confirm its existence. And this this process will complete very soon. That the whole of universal community will be able to have the benefit of the two, both in the dimension of energy or matter, which never existed. When we released the soul, we had to get rid of the physicality. You call it death. When we brought the soul, you had to give it the physicality, and you go through the dimension of the birth, and then you have the whole commotion of bringing the two. With a new system, both soul and the soul of physicality work together in the existence of dimension. We expect a massive change in the physical characteristics of human race in the coming century, because we change into the emotion of the physicality. The way, as I said many times, but many never understood, Indians and Pakistanis were the same, till one chose to take different kind of energy in the other one, and we see change of the feature. Now, with the balance between the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of man, many of us will change feature, without a shadow of a doubt. Man will change the faces of anger, man will change the faces of hate, man will change the face of warmongering, because we get satisfied in the fields of it. And this is part of what will be and what has already started, and the completion of will be the birth of Mitra. Physical completion of birth of Mitra in a physical dimension, not in myths. And then we have the soul of the Creator, which the two will complete the cycle. And then, as I said very recently to one of my messages, then we'll see if Adam will eat from the apple of love. And giving it. And then we'll see how humanity will change. And the whole creation will change. We are at the verge of that change. Much, much closer than anybody could think of, not only a human race.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 433rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 19th, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I'll be host here once again on these weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops, bringing you the latest in teachings in plasma technology with Mr. Mayran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And I believe he's ready to go for today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers of the Keshe Foundation, the Spaceship Institute Teachings and Knowledge Share. We welcome you back for 433 times in this series and many more in other parts in sharing knowledge. And hopefully we learn a little bit more, we share a little bit more, and with it, we establish new ground. Brain Talk today brings a very fundamental point of discussion for us now that we are ready and we are setting up the systems for flight into space. Man has always seen the flight in the rockets and the spaceships and UFOs and whatever, the kites and air balloons. But man never considered that, as we said many times, he has traveled the span of the universe through the soul of its what we call dimensional existence. When you come to Keshe Foundation and Spaceship Institute exhibitions in the next weeks, you will see the new space development. You will see travel through the soul of the man. Rocket propulsion, UFOs, belongs to the dimension of physicality, limitation of time, space, speed, and the rest of it. Where the new technology brings a new dimension. Transmutation of the energy fields of the universe is the topic, the subject, the all understanding of the new technology. You still want to travel with your physical body to confirm you have, but you denied the travel of your soul. That was a dream. Something happened, something I felt. We have become so materialistic that even we lie to ourselves in what we do internally. We call it a dream. In a way, we have forgotten about the captain of the ship, and we sit with what we call the pirates, the physicality of the man. The new space technology that many of you have no choice but to interact with in the coming weeks in the centers of the Keshe Foundation is the new dimension in travel. The new dimension in existence of man in space. These systems are getting set up. These systems are not dream, these systems are not a theory, these systems are not what you thought one day. That day has arrived. You are part of it. You have become part of it. You have joined a revolution in science, in education of man and the universe. The new systems which you will endeavor to walk in will bring you that new dimension. Now you can put the body in a car to get to it. And when you get there, you take the soul and take the body with it when you want to. In a way, you go to the airport to give your physicality to another man to take you where is predestined for you. Now you take yourself to the enhancement centers, and then you'll become the captain. Nobody can tell you where you can go, where you cannot go. The banking system controls you that way, what you can use and what you cannot use, and when you can. As one of our knowledge seekers was pointing out to me a few days ago, now you have no banking system. You have no limitation of which airports you can land. Do you have a visa? Do you have a passport? You're an immigrant, you're a refugee, and the rest of it. In the next few days, in the next few weeks, As we develop these technologies and we assemble the reactors for the space development in the level of the fields of the universe, mankind has no choice but to face the fact. The new era in the cycle of the knowledge of the man has arrived. We have taught you for years in the fields of making gases and the rest of it. Now, we go back to what I emphasized over and over for past years. Be happy with your magnet systems, where you can physically touch them, but be happy with the fields which your magnet system makes that allows you to travel the span of the universe. We gave you the universal generator and you got stuck with a few voltage and amps. Now we have put these into operation. We have brought the knowledge of the teachings in past decades into operation, that man has the capability to fly through the dimension of the strength of the soul of the man, or what we call the plasma of the existence of it. When you have the sun does not shine anywhere in the solar system, unless it comes and interacts with another field, that the interaction of the two manifests the existence of the earth, the moon, the rest of the planetary system. So is the soul. The soul of the man shines, and when it comes with the interaction of the soul of physicality in a dimension of the inertia and the magnetic gravitational fields of this planet, manifests itself as the embodiment of the man. When we take the sun away, that has no fields to interact, there'll be no existence of the earth, the man, the moon, because it cannot interact with, because it never came from the source that it was supposed to build it. Now you become that sun. In the new dimension, you decide in where, which position in the universe or in the dimension of the interaction of the fields with the others, you manifest yourself as Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Then it comes to us to understand, would my field interaction in this environment manifest as me as a man, and the other position in the same solar system, I behave like a plant and a tree because the field strength is different. And in another dimension, I become the field of the plasma without dimension of physicality, or maybe singularity, and become an omni. The teaching has brought us to this point. And the reality is that the technology, the knowledge, the science of it exists today. If it's used the correct way, it will bring a new dimension. If it goes the way we see that the Iranian government, through Sepah and the Revolution Guards, are developing what they call nuclear magnetic plasma weapons, man will see the end of his life cycle, the demise. I explained this to the American ambassador's office yesterday, and we make it very open. The new space technology, the new understanding of the plasma technology is and will be enforced by the Keshe Foundation across the world. Because if we allow the Iranian government with a new, what we call plan to develop the plasma enhanced using the Keshe Foundation technology, will bring the demise of nations. I warn the Iranian government to withdraw from such a research and development. The whole purpose of the evolution of the soul of the man is to make man peaceful. We have to understand, we have to be aware that we brought the knowledge for a peaceful application and not the conversion into a weapon. I have a signed agreement with the Iranian government, signed and sealed by the Parliament of Iran, that technology of the Keshe Foundation will not be used for weapon technology. And the soul of the knowledge will not allow that. We have to understand, when the man is tied up to a corner and the other one has the tool, they compromise. And we see that in the past few weeks, and the knowledge and what we call the development of the soul of the man through the Keshe Foundation has to be kept entirely and in totality for a peaceful application. I warned the American ambassador's office yesterday, directly to the ambassador, American ambassador to Vienna. Be warned of new structures which will use the Keshe Foundation technology, which should not be used. But the desperation of the time of the Russian government and the push to achieve the annihilation of the state of Israel with the pressures on Iran will bring the two devils together. And this will become extremely dangerous for all of us. We have to understand. We have to allow in the new few days that the new space technology developed by the Keshe Foundation to come into operation as a flight system has to be and need to be, and it must be completed as the Keshe Foundation team is doing as speedily as possible, that we change the course in a very, what we call, neutral way that all nations have the benefit of it. As I said, we do not need landing in space. We do not need flight, what we call landing position. We can be in the center of a stone and take flight. We can be under 3 blankets and 2 beds and 10th floor under the water or in a deep mine. We still go to sleep. We still dream, and we allow the soul of the man to travel the span of the universe. This is what the new space technology, which is in the hand of the Keshe Foundation scientists and is becoming to its assembly point, is. Does not matter where we put the enhancement unit, in the center of a star, in the center of a stone, in the center of the brain of the man. Man will be able to travel the span of the universe the way he has done in the dimension of his soul. This is part of the totality of understanding of what we call new era in the dimension of what we call present existence. Today, I brought this subject up because we understand that the interaction of the fields of the plasma creates a dimension of existence. It brings what we call a new structure in understanding of the knowledge of the universe. We have to be able to understand. It's not the old time that we bring someone to interpret our dreams. What does it mean? We have to understand we create that dream. We are in charge of it. We are responsible for it. We see it and we implement it. My dream is peace on this planet and beyond, and not achieved. Your dream is to have a warm food sitting next to your mother. You have to be able to achieve it. Now that you know you're the creator of it, you call the mama and say, Mama, I'm coming home, cook me something I want to eat with you. Now You used to do it and you do it on a mobile phone. But this mobile phone does not work. Mom changed the dimension of physicality years ago. Now you have to communicate in the dimension of the soul of them. Now you understand even why we brought the communication, the way you call it, mobile phones, internet, for you to gain trust in the knowledge that you can communicate without standing next to each other and from different positions in the planet, because now you use physical materials. Now you have to learn, you have to accept the new dimension that the transportation and communication in the dimension of the soul has no mobile phones and no internet. It has no servers and it has nothing else, because all of it sits within a dimension of the fields of the universe. Mankind has reached that point. Mankind has no choice but to start using what I call the soul mobile. And at the same time, the problem with the new dimensions of your mobile phone is you can carry the voice, maybe sometimes the emotional reality, but it cannot carry the physicality to be there to enjoy. Now, with what I call the transportation and transmutation of the soul, you can do that. You have the capability to send the voice and the physicality together to enjoy the time, the space, and what we call the joy of existence in the dimension of the creation. The new enhancement unit, which are coming into operation, are set in pairs, in twos, that we can even transmute one soul from one to another to confirm the transportation and transmutation of the fields of the universe. You have noticed in a lens exhibition, we have two sitting next to each other. One in the dimension of the soul of the man, and one in the dimension of physicality of transportation and transmutation of the transfer of the fields into matter state. In the coming time, we'll fly from depth of the what we call Earth, not on the landing strips of the airport. In the past 2 years, as I traveled around, I've seen airports empty. We are the only plane taking off and landing. This will be the situation where all the airports man has made in a very short time, because nobody will use them. We don't need aircraft to land, we don't need immigration, we don't need passport control, because in the dimension of existence of the soul of the man, there is no borders, there is unity, and in so many ways, one planet, one nation, one race extends itself to one universe, one race of the Creator. This is where we are taking them at. If you stay in the dimension of physicality, you go with one planet, one race, one nation. If you go to the dimension of the soul, you become one creator. And that's all, as there are no nations. Now you understand how fast in the coming weeks the Keshe Foundation will take you to that dimension. We will see opposition from the government to the work of the Keshe Foundation. We'll take the challenge of every nation as we carry the citizens, and the governments are nothing but elected by the citizens of this nation. The opposition to Keshe Foundation in a very short time will become immense by the governments who now see the loss of control of the central banking, borders, wars, and the rest. As you can go and see the uncle in New York, and together we will travel to Paris to have dinner with the aunt. No one can control, no borders, and we carry one currency in our pocket. The totality and understanding of the new breakthrough in science will be amongst you and is amongst you today. The reactors for space travel and technology is partially and in totality for their control being manufactured and is ready to be tested. We are not talking that they'll come one day. We told you for 2 or 3 years, for 10 years, the teaching, while we were teaching in the front, we researched and developed in the back. And now it's time to bring you to see it. We might not even reach the 6th of June. We might reach the 6th of June, might go beyond the 6th of June, but the systems for the space travel are already set to go. But is the mankind, are the knowledge seekers ready for this change? That they can bring this change to the nations, to the what we call languages, and to humanity. In the next few days, when the first tests are carried away, we will see the change in the dimension of many world leaders as we will enforce the peace through the new enhancement units, which works through the soul of the man. We will bring a new understanding to the operation of the what we call one system. We will set these up, and in turn we'll hand over this to Universal Council and the Earth Council, that the soul of the two councils will bring the balance to man and in connection with the rest of the universal community. In so many ways, on my passing, the soul of the man will become the soul of the joint of this, what we call the Universal Council and the Earth Council, where the Universal Council is the soul and the Earth Council is the soul of physicality in the dimension of existence of the man. We make man to be one in the dimension of connection of the unified soul of the Universal Council. Now you see all the teachings, all the structure put together, now is coming together to operate, to be ready to go. You thought we set up the Universal Council for this and that. You thought we teach this and the soul. Now, in the operation of the coming time, they operate together, they unify together, and with it, we bring the elevation of the soul of the lives on this planet, be it the man, the beast, the tree, and the fish. Now you understand how cleverly we have brought the whole structure of the teaching, the knowledge, and the science and theology together. In the next few days, Keshe Foundation will take control through the soul of the operation of the Universal Council and the Earth Council to start the process of transmutation and enlargement of the what we call the dimension of the understanding of the man about his responsibility in totality for this planet and beyond. It's not anymore global warming. This is a global souls interaction to warm up, to understand the changes which has been brought from man. As I said, no being will sleep hungry, be it the child in the United States, be it the child in China or Africa, be it the child of a lion or a tiger or a fish. because the elevation of the soul is in totality, the knowledge of the understanding to receive the essence of the fields of the universe through the new understanding of the work of the universe by the soul of man will compensate for the shortfalls which this planet created for millions of years that pushed the man to kill, to absorb, to what we call replenished life, or the beast. The new enhancement unit for flight, which is put into operation, initially works with no physical dimension. The new enhancement flight unit for souls will be tested without enhancement unit physicality. Now they'll be tested. It is getting tested. It's getting set up to create that first. People in the foundation who are responsible for this operation, they're working on it. They're putting it together. When it comes to operation, we shall see enhancement unit with no physicality. We test in the dimension of the soul first before we bring it into the dimension of physicality that the man is happy to see it in something. One day, the Keshe Foundation will release the picture of these systems. Flight system without physical boundaries. Flight system which has no box. These are not theory. These are getting built and put together today by the different research teams of the Keshe Foundation. And you will see it in the coming time. Man cannot have physical dimension if the soul does not allow it. And would we see the point that the system will create its own physical manifestation? We do not teach this technology outside the Keshe Foundation research centers because the man is not ready for it. But we will show the effect of it, the work of it in coming days. As I said, you were looking to get into a spaceship. We were looking to get into dimension of the work of the soul. And now the systems for it are all set to go. This could be a shock to a lot of you, but this is what I came here for. To move man from the dimension of physicality into the dimension of the fields of the universe. But even with our knowledge seekers and research team, I take them step by step as they think they're doing it and encourage them and show them and push them to where we want it to be, where we want to gain access to that position that man does not depend in the dimension of physicality. It'll be fantastic when you walk into a space and not into a machine, and you can travel the dimension of the soul across the universe. These systems are already set, and the mass production on this is in progress. This is the first step for the man. Many of you, as a scientists and knowledge seekers, will develop this technology according to the understanding of time and the space of the man, his ultimate position for the universal community, and not just for man. As you become more aware of the knowledge of the universe, the knowledge of the physicality which is open to the man, we have called for the end of the religions, that no man can be abused. We shall see the end of all religions, because now man does not need a messenger when he has access to the totality through his own soul. We call upon Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran to resign. We call upon the Pope and the structure of Vatican to fold. We call on the Jewish leadership to close shop and bring all the theology to one, to understand the new understanding of the space technology. That now We all have access to the knowledge of the universe, and we do not need messengers, as the messages are also in the dimension of understanding the fields and operation of the universe. When we wish it, we get it. And I wished it, and I will get it. As we all say, my wish is my command. It's time for man to evolve in the knowledge. It's time for man to enter the dimension of the knowledge of the universe. It's time for man not to be shackled, what I call, with the financial and the living structure of today. As I said, we still create the enhancement units. We still keep man busy with other things, and we keep man working, because what do you do if you don't have a job? But man should not suffer in that position and that space and time. We bring the changes in small steps, and those small steps, as a giant leap in the knowledge of the man, has started. Would not be surprised if you start seeing pictures and videos of the new, what I call, flight systems with no physical dimension. In the coming weeks, Keshe Foundation will release these pictures. In coming weeks, we'll show you how we had to use the enhancement systems to hide it. For you, for the world leaders, not to have the time to interfere and damage. The new enhancement units, which are about to be tested without physical boundary, in a way without what you see the shell, will start not only for the Keshe Foundation, but for the soul of humanity. The preparation for bringing that soul to the dimension of physicality, making the things for it to be done, was done 2 years ago in the Keshe Foundation. But step by step, we have brought it forward, that it fits the knowledge and people can understand step by step. We have created gases that brings that dimension of the plasma without the physicality of life. And now we apply it. We do not need astronaut to test. We do not need pilot to test. We have made structures, materials, sitting in the labs of the Keshe Foundation for 2 years, ready for this time. And yesterday, I made instruction and a structure for that test to start, where we'll connect to the dimension of the totality of the man as an independent soul, and it depends connection with the physicality of the man through his blood. Do not forget, all the beings on this planet are 99% the same, because they all came from the production of the gases of physicality and the amino acid of what we call the atmosphere of this planet. We see the time for all of you to start speeding up in understanding, if you want to be the passengers of the universe in the dimension
and science, which is going to hit the man, as I said last week, like a juggernaut. And I'll tell you one thing. This time that juggernaut is the size of a spaceship. And this time when it hits, there'll be no spaceship, but the understanding of the soul of the man that the passengers of the spaceship can still fly. It is the responsibility of knowledge seekers to speed up their own understanding of the operation of the soul, operation of the fields of the energies of the creation. As I said, and many times I referred to it even with what we call, Einstein could not understand when you turn one magnet or one electron, the other electron, or what the atom rotates. So you have to understand, when we turn the soul of the man to the new dimension, the soul of the physicality of the man will turn too and will be elevated to the new strength to keep the same position and dimension and to be able to manifest itself. And now, as you understood before, as we said, when the new strength in the evolution of the soul of the man comes, and the turn in that direction takes place, the soul of the physicality of the man has to change position and direction. And now you understand why I said that the physicality of the man in the coming time will change you the new understanding of what it is, the new teacher. As the soul evolves and strengthens in a dimension of position of change, soul of physicality will change with it, and with it will change the physical structure of the man on this planet. We will have no mouth to eat, we'll have no arms to kill, and we have no sight to see, but we'll feel the images and the fields of this planet. The way we stretch the cells of the body of the man to make it transparent and make the eye of the man. Now we go back, that man can see without the eye. Can feel and create the dimension of understanding in the dimension of the soul of the man. I wonder how many of you have seen the eye of your soul. That is, seeing your mom and dad sitting having your food with you after 20 years of their passing. Hopefully, by the 6th of June, we'll break that breakthrough. You were waiting for man to fly to moon. 6th of June, I give you the systems that flies you across the universe. By 6th of June, we'll bring that change. It's the time to move from one to another to bring the knowledge to man. The systems for elevation of the soul of man, the systems for testing for the elevation of the understanding of the soul of humanity and the passage of this spaceship of the earth in its own village will start from the 6th of June and before. Collective soul of this planet will run this planet in a dimension of the systems that will be divided amongst you, that the balance of understanding of the knowledge stays amongst the totality, not in the hand of a few, that in the future they become the new priests and the religions and the rest of it. We close the door of abuse. The only way you can be abused is by yourself and your own conduct. Amalgamation and what we call emergence of the two sides of the Keshe Foundation, the science and the theology, which states the incarnation of the soul of the man through universal council, hasn't started and will take shape in a beautiful way. Is for you as knowledge seekers and the citizens of this planet to decide in which way
as the totality of the soul of the planet, would like to take humanity and the passengers of this planet with you. Many of you thought Universal Council was a joke and just something to be. Those who betrayed it and those who were there for their own, what we call clandestine activities, all have left. And those who come to abuse it will abuse themselves. Because now it's not one anymore, but it's a totality, and that will keep the whole of this community of man intact and in check. In the next few days, when we test the enhancement units without boundary, you will come to understand the changes which we bring. We can take these systems to the depth of the ocean, to the deepest part of the minds of this planet, and still fly. We still allow the soul of the man to take wherever he wants. The way you can dream, sleep in the submarine in the depth of the ocean, or on the jet planes at the highest level the man can go in the space lab. There is no place for the soul of the man not to operate. And now we have created a system which creates that condition of the soul. And then you understand why we brought the creation of meter in the dimension of the soul and not in the dimension of physicality, and then we gave it the shape and the dimension of physicality. Be ready for the change. In the next few weeks, we make you more ready for that change to come. But we still carry on with everything else we do. Otherwise, we have nothing to do. Man has to be busy. And to make something or to do something when you're in this dimension of physicality. Move to the dimension of the soul, and the universe is your oyster. And you are the pearl in that oyster. How would you like to shine as a pearl in this beautiful giant oyster of creation? The teachings are taking a new dimension. The teachings will take a dimension that you can see. We showed you the gases, we showed you the what we call magnet units, we showed you the what we call dynamic systems. Now, in the coming days and weeks, you will see the light enhancement unit with and without dimension. And we'll see how the two interact between each other. The Keshe Foundation centers will be equipped with two of each, without dimension of physicality and with dimension of physicality and enhancement unit, and see what mayhem we shall create in the dimension of what we call enhancement of the soul of its visitors. How many of you will walk in as a man and walk out as what we call universal community member? Now you understand why and how we are pushing for this development to conclude as rapidly as possible, that the progress and the development can be to the benefit of mankind. I welcome you to the new era in the world of science and technology, in the dimension of the fields of the universe rather than the matter state of the universe. I hope you enjoy this talk. We are not going to build systems for you. In front of you, without you knowing, we have built the systems for you. Extremely advanced, extremely capable to do everything. But it's you who has to tap into that knowledge, you has to tap into that energy and see the elevation of the man. The soul. The beauty of it is, with a new enhancement with no dimension, we can take 10 members of the Universal Council to be together, and 10 in that. And between the two, change the dimension of what we call the soul of the creation. There are no chairs in the new dimension enhancement flight units. Now guess how many souls will be able to carry each. Today, I brought you a breakthrough understanding and what is to come to you in the next few days and the next few weeks. Many of you brought changes, seen changes in past few weeks, in past few years, and past few decades, what the Keshe Foundation has brought in and what has become gradually part of the norm of the science. But now we bring a technology that does not exist in no science, and because of it and through it, we take the leadership in bringing peace and prosperity. We call on the nations to come to peace. Now we force nations to peace. But the whole of mankind has to be there for it to become peaceful, plus the citizens of this planet, including the animals and trees and the fish and the rest which we do not see. I hope you're ready for what is going to hit you in the next few days and weeks. And I hope you understand the gravity of what is being brought forward. One day, I will explain the reasons behind the choice of 6th of June. And then you understand why and how the whole thing is taking shape in that direction and dimension. Thank you very much for today. And be ready and prepare yourself for what is to come. Thank you very much, Rick. If you'd like to go for a break and come back now and we go through the other parts of the contributions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We'll be a few minutes in our intermission here, and be back in a few minutes. Just get things organized. There we go. Okay, this is the 433rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 19th, 2022. And as Mr. Keshe said, we'll have a short intermission and be back with a time period for questions and answers.
The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A plasma space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit a dimension in health and transportation never seen before.
The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a space technology that allows you to work with the fields of the universe. Creating a wide range of plasma field interactions and conditions, it allows the body to process itself from any physical or emotional imbalance. Once this balanced condition is achieved, the soul and emotion of the man can follow to find their balance, elevating the whole of the man. The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit. Technology of the future through advanced plasma knowledge.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, welcome back to the 433rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 19th, 2022. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to begin the second half of our program here today?
Yes, yes, with pleasure. Before we start this part of the teaching, as I said to you before, Keshe Foundation is involved in research and development in different universities in different part of the world. One of the researchers which we started with Corona, two with the leading scientists in the world to do the research, was that as coronavirus was not available, more or less to no one, we had to test and ask the universities and scientists to test different viruses in a full research development university structure with a permission and license from the university to do the research using the Keshe Foundation technology and materials. Number of these researchers, following expansion of the science of the Keshe Foundation with viruses, has come to conclusion. And after a year, scientific papers for them are ready to be published in international journals. One of the things which we looked and was founded and financed to test that it was parallel and very similar to what we call corona, was a research and development in herpes. As you remember, some 3-4 years ago, in one of the journals of the Keshe Foundation, Plasma Time, I released papers about the work of the herpes in the body of the man. The scientific data, the research paper is 100% convincing and completed and confirms that a specific new mixtures of gases has reduced the strength of the virus by 1,000 times. If you had 10,000 viruses, now it drops by 3 zeros to 10. The scientific paper will be published in one of the leading journals around the world in the coming weeks, as the final part of it is ready for submission. We have already seen this work in other dimensions, and for this reason, Keshe Foundation has launched and will launch a new work in this dimension. And what we call the Keshe Foundation on the commercial side will provide systems that most and all of you can purchase through the Keshe Foundation as part of the international test trial. And we collect the data for scientific confirmation of the paper. In a coming short time, Keshe Foundation will launch on the same basis of same technology, confirming the safety of the gases we produce, which has already been done for the skin and digestion in China and Iran. We launch this new product for what we call the tip, the lip, and the hip. We try to see the influences of the plasma on tip, which we call migraine, hay fever. The lip, as we see herpes usually on the lips. And the hip is for the cycle of the pain most of the women go through menstruation. These are not digesting system. These are to be used on the skin only and nothing else. And is by agreement, is by donation, and is for you to accept to be part of this, what we call trials or testing, that we can gather the what we call at your own time, your own free time, with your own responsibility to test and report back. We have brought in people in the Keshe Foundation which will immediately connect and respond to these, what we call trials. We do not enter in any shape or form in any other direction. And this is literally for you to donate for the research to be further evaluated. And it's not for you to drink it. It's non-drinkable product. It has to be used only on the skin. And then you send your report back. What do you see? How fast was effective? If especially you've seen the herpes pack after 2-3 times of use. And you have to understand the herpes is a virus, goes, as we explained, on the middle of the skin. And as the skin is part of the brain, we've seen scientific research in the past, a large number of people with herpes around the lips end up with Alzheimer's because then it affects the layer of the skin, it connects to that. So in the coming time, when you go to the Keshe Foundation, what we call website, fill in the form, and then you make the donation, and the foundation apparatus which is set up will send you as a free gift for you to test what we call new trials. But you have to fill in the form and you have to keep to it because this data is important. There's a limited number of these are available, and then we expand it if the research data comes as it's expected, and we publish it. Do not forget that the Keshe Foundation as an institute and Keshe Foundation as a journal or a scientific journal, we publish our own work and we do our own structural work. As an international organization, there is no boundaries for our work, and there is no limitation for you to test the new dimensions in the gain of the knowledge. The scientific report comes from one of the leading universities, and one of the leading scientists in that university has done the research with the collective number of other scientists in this university. And the papers for it, as it's published, will be published collaterally with the Keshe Foundation plasma type. This is another smaller step towards the handling of the next tests of officially done by universities and international institutes for handling the viruses in space. You got to understand, we cannot take waters to the space to overcome viruses. We do these tests to understand the fields created, to be able to make systems that the interaction of the fields in the universe we can overcome and build this in our systems to overcome viruses. In a future space unit, viruses will be introduced as part of the structure. Viruses as fields, not as a virus, which means that in the future space technology, any viruses in space will be absorbed by the system that never reaches the man. Or if the man absorbs it outside the flight system, can pass it on to the system to absorb it. This is part of the further development and research of the Keshe Foundation in deep space travel. You decide to travel with the spaceship, you try to travel with the soul. Either way, even the souls can be interacted, and they will come in interaction as they are themselves made of plasma fields with what we call loose fields, packages of the universe. We call them the viruses in the universal language. So we enter this new era with the scientific papers which are done, the research is completed, that with your help and your cooperation, if you suffer from especially herpes, and you know that people with all these things on their lips, and you see very often with any, and then when they just need to kiss a child and it passed on and damages a child for the rest of life, these now can be tested and then will come as a product in the next few months and years out of the Keshe Foundation for this purpose. But now we're going through what we call testing and trials. You volunteer yourself and you test it yourself. And with Keshe Foundation, let us know, as is done now by the universities. The same is with TIP, LIP, and HIP package. And let's see how much knowledge, how fast you can respond back to us. We need to collect this data. With a limited number of items will be available to see what is the indication. We'll keep you posted. As we say, this test now directly will be monitored on hourly basis by the Keshe Foundation, which we have put a person in charge to see how the volunteers will react and what they report back to us. And this will bring 3 of the more what I call menaces in this planet. We see many people suffering with, hopefully, to some sort of understanding. And then we pass this into the world of pharmaceutical, let them to come up with the international distribution and commercialization. Rick, if you are ready to go for, if you have any questions that we can answer.
Okay, sure. I was just showing briefly the website from the KF Wikipedia. It's actually an article from the KF Plasma Times of January 2019 with your article about the viruses, the energy packages of the universe. And it's quite involved there. We posted the link, people can check that out as a prelude to your current research that's ongoing in this topic. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, let's get back to the workshop here. So we'll open it up to questions. And once again, I remind the attendees here in the Zoom workshop that you can raise your virtual hands and then we can allow you to open your microphone. And in the other chats in live stream and YouTube, you can post a question if you have a question. Okay, we do have a question in the Q&A. Perhaps, we have a hand up. Maybe we should begin with that. It's Salamia. Go ahead, Salamia.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Rick. I have a question regarding the cup of life and about the influence of this magnetico-gravitational field on our electric installation, or if is there an interference, something. What is the impact on this, if there is one or if it is not? Thank you very much.
All the cups create magnetic fields of different strength. And if the strength, a step up or a step down, matches the electric currents or plasmatic currents of the system with it, then interact. Because electric current itself is a magnetic field. So if they find matching point, yes, they do. If they don't find a matching point and the strength, they don't. So it is expected. This is one of the reasons we always put the systems in the middle of them. I've seen many knowledge seekers put their stack of unit against the wall and near a light or plug or whatever. You create still everything, but you have interaction and limitation and what I call common denominator with what is passing you.
I was asking about the impact, if it is positive or could be negative. This is
The impact is what according to what you need or what you have done. Nothing is negative.
yes.
Nothing in the structure of the plasma negative. Always there's a balance.
Okay.
I was talking to one of the leading knowledge seekers about the situation we have risen with the American ambassador yesterday in Vienna, and the situation that we see even in scientists are heading for using the new plasma technology. And the question raised was, they are using plasma. They're creating a technology out of plasma. So the soul of this new system should know what is correct and protect. Now, the use of the technology as you create a plasma which has a central control and in a way has emotional interaction, would it lead to destruction and annihilation, or would it bring a new cycle? Would the Iranian soldiers and Russians, when they use it for the first time in the zones in Ukraine, can you shut that channel, please? There's noise coming up. Would we see a new dimension where the system used to annihilate creates new life, changes things, a new dimension? The wish of the technology is technology in exchange for peace. We have set our course. And would the interaction of the fields of the environment will bring that change? The understanding of the technology in totality is paramount than just picking up the part which suits and fits you. Because when the reality hits, it might not suit what you thought you might gain out. And we see this collaboration between Iran and Russia. When a drone was captured, technology was shared with Russia, and Russians captured what we call the most advanced ship. And I openly came with this because I know American ambassador's office and the American government is listening onto the line. Do not make the mistake to overlook and oversight the situation. The same goes with the state of Israel. The same goes with Iran. New weapon technologies using the plasma the way we have introduced on this will not create damages. Because it works different way. It's set up different way. The Iranian scientists were really shocked in what they have or what they might achieve by application of it. I want the American administration collaborate as fast as possible with the Keshe Foundation to bring this to an end in a very fast way. And I want the same Iranians, do not take this path because you're opening something which is to the benefit of the foundation, the work of humanity, but you do not know how to control it. The interaction of the fields has just been said with the what we call high transmission systems across the countries can bring a shocking news to many nations at the same time. This is what Prime Minister Netanyahu did not understand when explained that using the technology used showing the Keshe Foundation apparatus as a Iran weapon technology, this is a massive energy source. My biggest fear is if it's used, then would there be any transformers? Would there be any power stations operating after that? Because we've seen the effect of it in Sanya in South China Sea some years ago.
If we offer this cup to somebody, I mean, not the content, but these instruments which made the magraph, will still have in the house this field, magnetic field. It will remain there forever, or we will.
It's connected. It's connected. You can, once you establish a magnetic field, it's connected. It cannot be broken. When you make a cup for someone and give it to them, that cup is connected to them and to you at the same time. Even if somebody gives you one of the cups of lives and then you have it at home, use it a few times or whatever, and then you give it to somebody else, now it's connected with both places. It's a field connection. This is how in electrical circuits we see the lines to be nano-coated. We don't nano-coat the wires. Plasmatically, fields move, and in that process, move atomic structure to separation and what we call nanolayers. And then the outer boundary of these nanolayers, in conjunction with interaction, let's say, with a salt in the plaster or a mixture with a salt with somewhere else, or the salt within the plastics which is produced, will lead to the generation of gases, and you create a local energy system. We've seen this in many, many systems. And the more, if you put, for example, a magrav unit or an enhancement unit or a couple of life unit in the house, cut a piece of wire before you started and hold it outside the house. And then when you put the magrav in, and then cut the same piece of wire, which is part of the house, 6 months later, the color is not the same. It looks copper, but it's not. The shine is different because the first layers of the nanomaterial through plasmatic conditions already been created. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Okay, in the Q&A, we have a question from Liznio. There's a lot of hypnosis investigations recorded and shared by way of the internet regarding different creatures from the universe. I would like to know from your knowledge about the Elohim, or maybe those who pretend to be Elohim, and what is Elohim?
What is Elohim? I've never heard of it.
Well, I had to kind of look. Yes, I've heard of it before, but I had to look it up. It's basically gods, or it's related to the Hebrew word, meaning gods or entities. Maybe it's pronounced differently than I say it. Elohim? Elohim? I'm not sure. Elohim.
In Farsi, we have a word very near to it. It comes from connected to God, Elahi, which means from the Creator. But I do not know what he's talking about, so I cannot answer you.
Well, it is a Hebrew word meaning gods, and but it usually in the Hebrew Bible refers to a single deity, not gods in plural. So it's like you say, coming from God. In any case, these apparently
it's the same word in Arabic, I think, becomes Allah, which means God. It's the same derivation as it sounds. We have it in Farsi, the same thing, but again, it means the Creator. But put it this way, whatever you dream, even in the dimension of the soul, created from the interaction of magnetic field, that magnetic field has come from the source of Creator in some different strength and dimension. So you can always claim it. We don't have out of nowhere magnetic field created. We don't have different races of God, if you put it that way. Let's say which God has it come from. All comes from one source by interaction or by whatever. In the electronics, we create coils and we wind them over each other and we transfer energies. It's the same process in the world of creation. Different field strengths in interaction create new dimensions and sometimes current. So we are always connected to something somewhere. And as we all come from one field source, so yes, we can claim, yes.
Some of the definitions are for powerful angelic beings who have been contributing to the process of creation ever since the beginning, or created spiritual beings with moral judgment and high intelligence, but without physical manifestation.
I think many of you will get to that point when you go to non-tangible enhancement system. You all become angelic. It'll be very interesting to see. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question from Steph in the Q&A. You talked about the bonbon that you put in the mouth to change the emotion. Is it available sometime or not? Thank you for being our teacher.
It will be in that process in the coming times. That is an intermediary step. Any other question?
From let's just say from A in the Q&A. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for your teachings today. Just on the trials for people with herpes, is this program ready to go? My partner has this problem and would like to be part of this research.
Go to the Keshe Foundation website and regularly, and it should be launched in the next few hours or days. We are waiting for some clarification from the authorities. And then, yes, anybody can. Do not drink these waters. These are just to touch. And research scientifically has proven, and we have certification from our Chinese research centers, and we paid for it, that our materials are safe for the skin. So please do not accept anything anybody else gives you, whatever, because we don't know what is involved. We know our products, we know what we do, and we know mixture of the things we produce, many of our what we call gases are not in public domain. So you will not see what was expected, and it's not just somebody had, I did, tried, whatever. Try them, but you have to go through the what do you call the process of we are not selling products. It's for you to donate to and test it yourself and report back in what you see, if it's effective, how effective, and how it does. But this is a collecting data to go back into the what we call the next stage for what we call commercialization. Any other question?
Jan is asking in the YouTube, when is Mr. Keshe going back to Iran? He mentioned a year ago he would go back after the Iranian election in 2021, and even the resident was allocated to him, residency or something.
I am an Iranian citizen. I do not need residency. We are in talk with the Iranian government for my return to Iraq. Our office in Tehran until last week, when they went through a process, the Iranian authorities, the way it is, the Office of Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran and the Office of the President and Sepah have to guarantee my freedom to return from Iraq. We do not have this in writing as of today. I met with the Iranian officials in the past 7 days at the Iranian embassy for clarification on this point. And my return out of Iran has to be guaranteed by the Office of Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. And we need that clearance from the government and the structure put in. We've been verbally told there is no problem, but we need it in writing, because in 2008, when I went to Iran, the Office of Ayatollah Khamenei objected for my departure from Tehran at the airport. We don't want to get to that position. At that time, Ahmadinejad negotiated with the office to allow me to leave after 3 days, 4 days. And we need that clarification today. We are ready to go. Our office in Tehran just moved to a beautiful new offices in the past few days. And till we don't have the assurances from the Iranian government for my safe departure, we're still on hold. There are things which needs to be done. Assurances to be given that when you go in, suddenly new things don't come up. Any other question? You got to realize Iranian government has a problem in many ways with my presence in Iraq. As we know, the Belgians, since we kicked them out of the Keshe Foundation, that there were 2 terabytes of files in sheets to the Iranian government saying I'm the agent of Israel. And the beauty of it is they put their fingerprint on it. We see it, and it's been delivered. And then there is a situation with what the Iranian officials have to deal with, what we call the proclamation of being Mehdi as a soul. And this is a very hard thing to swallow. And the dimension of the acceptance of the changes goes right to fundamental changing in the whole of the Iranian structure in the new science and technology delivery. You got to understand, Iran has always had a problem with Keshe Foundation. And personally me, because I come from 2 sides, half Jewish, half Muslim. My mother's side goes to Kohen, and my father's side goes to Sayed. And they cannot tell the Iranian nation that somebody with half Jewish blood is so loyal to his nation. Doesn't fit if you're trying to demolish the state of Israel. And this doesn't fit into the structure of the school of thought they've developed. And this is something which they use my technology, Keshe Foundation supporting everywhere, other call my Islamic side. But personally, to be there and being of half Jewish blood is hard to swallow when you're promoting a state of Israel as whatever else to be demolished. I've never been disrespected by the officials in any level in any of the embassies or during my time in Iran. But bringing that to a nation which have created so much animosity about another nation is very hard to become objective about it and change. They enjoy the pleasures of the knowledge and technology, but how can you tell your nation? There is such a, I'm at the same position under attack by the those who are against and those are with either side. And this cannot be sorted. Now it's so public without clarification from the Office of the Government of Iran and the government. We stay loyal to the nation of Iran, as we stay loyal to the rest of the nations. But place of birth does not bring privilege of rights. Not nowadays. Any other question?
Yes, we have our Thomas ready to ask a question, I believe. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. How are you?
Thank you very much.
Mr. Keshe, I just would like to go back to this question about the Elohim. There is a very interesting man in Italy who is the official translator for old scripture in the Vatican. And he, of course, or not of course, he has a very other view on the translations which were made since old times, because he goes back to the Hebrew and Aramaic texts. And I think he is sort of very on another way than, for instance, the translations in English or in German by Luther. So the word Elohim as such is a plural, and he is very firm that when he looks at the whole texts of the Old Testament, that there were in the beginning not just one God which is referred to by the Old Testament, but different gods. Of course, he is also of the opinion, like all of us, that there is a source, but this source is very difficult to be named, because we have in the Old Testament actually 3 times sort of names of God, which in the translation were differentiated. So there was the Elohims as a plural. Then comes the unspeakable God of name of God, which the German text and the English text translated into Yehovah, which is a word which in Hebrew cannot be expressed. But then there is a very important third name, which God calls himself, or the source, as a matter of fact, when Abraham sees the burning bush which doesn't consume itself. He says, who are you? And the translation in German and English was, I am who I am. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous, because if you look at the Hebrew letters, it is Eheye, then Asher, and then Eheye. So this is a word, Eheye, I am, but Asher, one ghost, this is the word for happiness. So actually, this word should be much more understood as I am happiness. But of course, from the church's point of view, this is absolutely unsupportable, because if people think they are sort of like together with the source, that's why they are happy, then you have no command over all these souls. So actually, that's the only thing I wanted to comment is, yes, we are all, when we are happy, we are in contact with our soul, our love for the source, but that makes us as man independent. And that's what was refused by all the churches or all the religions in the past, except maybe the Buddhists, which accepted that some people could reach enlightenment and therefore would be at the same level as Buddha. But that is
yeah, I was sorry about that. Let me explain something to what we call line of religions in Middle East, which most of us European-speaking languages believe in, be it Judaism, be it Christianity, being Muslim. These are all interconnected religions. And one has taken something from the other one and extended it to suit. We see this in Islam clearly, where in Christianity we don't see, for example, because Christ never went into this. In Judaism we have kosher meat, we have to be slaughtered in a specific way. And then we see the same thing carried out by Muhammad, bless his name, because he traveled to Palestine, he saw the Jews, he saw how slaughtering the animal the way they do to let all the blood go allows the meat to last longer without getting infected. So he changed it into halal, but in fact it's the same. Many, many things in this line of religion in the Middle East is one extension of the other. If how Moses received the message or how Muhammad received the message, you look at the similarity. All was done for the betterment of man. The abuse came after the prophet. With Moses came with the prophet. So how we interpret the language, and if you call it the Silk Road, but this Silk Road existed in the south of Persian Gulf with Iran too. The Arabs, the Iranians, all the Chinese, the Palestinians, the Europeans, all took that line to go to Palestine and trade because it was the center of everything, and then they added religion to it. So we have the same common language, words, use of words, because the religion so interacted, or the people interacted so much. If the simple example of it is, if China was invented in China, through the Silk Road and the trading through what now President Xi calls it the Silk Road routes, if we manage to change plates and glaze it and call it a pottery China, we all call it China, you can imagine how the words and the theology when a China man exchanged plate with another man to get paid and they had dinner at the same time. This use of word and then changing it to part of different beliefs, to Tibet or to God knows wherever, is part of the exchange of the culture. And somebody who has taken somebody's idea or understanding for the betterment of his race has come up with different names for it. Call it a Buddha, call it Muhammad, call it Christ, whatever. The latest version of it is the Baha'is. But this demise, this has come to an end of its progress. Nothing is added into to the knowledge of the soul of the man. There is no extension. There is no scientific way to be able to explain what the soul is. For the first time, you know what it is. You've been taught, you understand it. Now, there is nobody to come between you and your soul and wherever that knowledge comes from it. Now you have access to, if you know how to do it, to universal knowledge. Do you need to have a knowledge about electricity? If you still live in a physical dimension, yes. But are there any generators in the universe? What a dimensional field of the universe? Yes, they are, but in a different shape or form. Places where the fields of the universe, which are loose and don't go anywhere, they come into and then they get generated as energy across the universe. Some of them are very similar to neutron stars. But mankind has used the same story from the same Silk Road talks, from the pottery to religion, and change of name in different directions. Jews had the same plates, and many of them died because of the plates, because they had no glazing. Chinese came with the glazing, they brought it, then the Jews changed. But if you look 5,000, 6,000 years down the line, when you go to a Jewish home, there are two sets of plates. All of us know. One plate for milk and one plate for meat. And it hasn't changed because they don't want to see the change. That gives them separation. We are different. But a knowledgeable Jew eats out of one plate, doesn't have to sit at home, because now he knows glazed, the fat of the meat cannot go into the plate and destroy it. But the other bits stayed. If you look at what we call all the religions, path of belief, they all come around about the space gap, and it's come by a man who's seen the other side now brought it here. It's just like, you know, you go to America, you see a new device, you take the agency and you go to your country and you become agent. Now a new device has come because it was in America. There was a new device called Judaism, with this kind of beliefs, which itself came out of Mithraism. And then Christ, just why you have an Old Testament and New Testament? What's the difference between the two if you look at it? Cut the Jewish part off, you make a new shape one, they call it the New Testament. And Muhammad did the same, because it brings a better condition for its people. But the words are the same. They cannot use it. They diversified or what it meant in that language, you put it there. But now, for the first time, you understand it yourself, that nobody to be the prophet, nobody to be somebody that you have to go. When you stand yourself, then you teach yourself, you expand the knowledge yourself. So you try to explain in this, the Old Testament, somebody translates, somebody is highly blah blah in it, it doesn't make any difference. It's all the same. It's the same China pot. And if you learn to make it in Switzerland, so now you have a Chinese Swiss made. But it's the knowledge comes from China. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question in the Q&A from Antonio. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I have a photo of a spacecraft which is in transition from etheric to a physical vehicle. So the photo shows a craft which is not quite solid. My question is the non-physical flight system, can this alternate between invisible and visible, or are these two separate systems? My thoughts are that our space brothers are not physical, but are able to perhaps lower their vibration when they wish to be visible to us.
First of all, we don't see this picture because he just sent me one on the internet. I can see what he's talking about. First of all, this goes back to what I just said a few minutes ago in the teaching regarding the uranium developing, trying to develop what they call plasma nuclear magnetic field generators. When you create a system with what you call like UFOs, which you go to the phase of understanding and developing the way it can be done with a soul, then it has the same properties as you. It decides where and how it wants to manifest itself. These pictures we cannot confirm yes or no because it's nowadays photography is very much about superimposing one on the other. But the knowledge is the same. Many of you will be shocked when you see the new flight systems without what they call physical structure. When you go into a space, you don't go in a system blocked with walls. It's understanding the knowledge, the science in its totality, and when you're seeing something new, being able to explain it why and how. Sometime in 2010, if I'm correct, in around about 22nd of June, BBC has shown a movie taken in Brighton, on the beaches of Brighton, where the actor walks down the steps to come to the beach. And the cameraman is taking a picture with the scenery in the background, everything else, the cloud, the sky, and everything else. And it's a clear indication, a clear visual. You cannot do anything in it. You see like 3 or 4 clouds in the sky, in the background. And then you see UFOs going from one cloud to another. It's not a production, it's actually happening. You see it, and they never realized it in production because they were focusing on the actor. But in the background of the sky, you see UFOs jumping from one cloud to another, back to a cloud, and going forward. I recorded this, and I don't know where I left it. If you go into the archives of the Keshe, what they call the BBC, you should be able to find it. And so UFOs exist. What you call it is not a what do you call it? exclusivity of one race or the other, but each one have created their own what you call versions. Not all the UFOs are the same. What the flying objects in the universe are the same. It's like you have a Rolls Royce, you have a truck, you have a Mercedes, you have a Mini. And the Chinese created their own version of the cars, and the South American their own version of cars. It's the same in universal community. It doesn't come from one race. All the races who reach certain level of knowledge achieve flights, achieve motion. And certain which they don't want to do it in a matter state, understand the structure of the soul, they travel with the soul. Man has the advantage and the privilege of being able to do both in a physical dimension. You eat and sit with your father. In the soul dimension, father is in New York, you speak to him and you know what he is. Now man has to understand he can live in both dimensions. That's all. No exclusivity, and each one has its own flavor. You know, you buy a car and you customize it. Citizens of the universe have customized their flight systems they do physically. Not all of them have reached the maturity that now we put the man through to understand the work of the soul. Not like you started with digging in the ground and built something. You got to realize something very, very strange. And I explained this some time ago to some scientists. If you look at the size of some of these UFOs, which we've seen or claim to be seen or whatever, it's the size of a city. Can you imagine if it was built, wherever it's built, and must be in a very small part of the position, and the size of these ships is the size of a city, how big that planet is. And then how did they achieve to get resources of whatever they have, titanium, special metals, to build it? It needs 10 Earth-sized planet to mine it, to not even mine, to change the material into the door of the craft, the lights and everything else. How big a Shanghai city is on this planet that it can bring from the Chinese nation all the resources to build one UFO that big? And I'm sure this is not the only one they built. Just put the scale and the order of knowledge, and then you will understand what we're talking about. Each man has made according to his availability and extent of knowledge, of materials and knowledge. When you look at these things, and you look at the 10, 20 spaceships together, they must have come somewhere. It's not a camel ride going from Jeddah or Medina to Tel Aviv. These size of ships you see, they have to fit into something if they're traveling across the universe. And these are like a aircraft carrier with the little ones inside, helicopters or whatever else you call it. Our knowledge now has reached aircraft carriers. Their knowledge has reached the spaceship carriers. They're carrying more bits in it. Then you can understand what the knowledge has been, how much it took them to gain this knowledge. The human race is on the same track, but with the new knowledge we brought, the way what we brought, mankind has jumped the scale of ladders. And not just mankind, it's for everyone. as I said before, we respect and honor those who came to this planet and they didn't bring the mayhem with them with the knowledge that the man couldn't handle. Even the amount of knowledge which was brought in, that nowadays you can see the mobile phones and the television and everything else which has changed this world of the man, is nothing compared to what to come. We just cracked open the door. We haven't opened the door to get into the realm of the knowledge of the universe. Any other question?
We had a question from Paula in the chat here. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Could you talk about the phenomenon that happens with the aurora borealis?
It's a natural phenomenon. It's a natural field interaction. It's the nature of the fields from the northern hemisphere, or whatever we see it everywhere. It's not exclusive. We see there much more clearly. Or we see this due to field interaction and the charge of the materials which are in that space. Any other question?
From Ed in the Q&A. So these triangle UFOs, they utilize the star formation system. And if you travel through the soul, do you travel on the rays of light? Because you stated that some ships house beings' bodies while they detach and float around as their soul.
Once you learn how to walk, you can jump, dance, and do whatever you like. So once the race learns something, then they try to extend and see the extension of it, how they can, what they can achieve. It's not that it's like us, all of us, the same. We learn something and then we add to it. You go and buy a wallpaper and we'll see how you change it. You paint it blue, the other piece of the paper you paint it yellow, and so on. Or you cut it in different shapes and make patterns out of it. It's the same with the knowledge. It's what is gained by the changes and what we manage to get from these changes the way it suits us. Any other question?
Okay, Jan in YouTube is asking, what happened to the return of the U.S. to the JCPOA that was supposed to be announced in March before the Iranian New Year? And the Rial would appreciate more than 50%. They are moving apart, it seems.
Pardon?
He's asking about the return of the United States to the joint agreement with the, I think he calls it the JCPOA.
Yeah.
It was supposed to happen, but
Iran moved the goalposts and the Americans moved with the goalposts.
And the situation at the moment, the negotiations are still going on. It hasn't stopped. But you have to realize now, the negotiations got much tougher. Everything should have gone very straightforward the way it was. Combination of the situations and Ukrainian war has brought polarity. And what we see now, Iran sees, especially what we see from them, they are hoping or they are wishing to get a benefit out of this or advantage points from it, the same as the Russians are doing with the Americans. And it's a very, very interesting thing to say this, the way in past 60 days things have changed. The Iranian government has more or less lost control in Iran in the past few weeks, coming out of the Ukrainian situation with Ukraine being a major exporter of food into the Middle East, and has unexpectedly in the past few days has created a massive mayhem across Iran with the rise of the bread and oil and other things by tenfold released by the government to go that way. So there's partially a lot of things has changed because of this situation, and Iran is not, or what is looked at from the outside, like Americans and others. Instability in Iran is taking shape in a very rapid way, and they're looking into, and would they be able, that's what I said when I explained why Iran rapidly is going through this change with the technology, with the nuclear plasma magnetic field, is to be able to gain a position that they can stabilize part of their instability. If you were paying $1 for a loaf of bread 2 weeks ago in Tehran, now you pay 10. Because they cannot, there's a huge shortage. India stopped the export of wheat. Ukraine has become unstable. Russians have taken over the ports of export of grain into Middle East and what they call it, an oil. Ukraine is a very influential bread basket for majority part of the world, especially Middle East, and fertilizers. If you're American, I've been told a dozen egg was $1.99. Now it's $4.99 the same. This Ukrainian situation has brought us stability, and Iran is not separated from it. And if it goes any worse, we might see compromises very rapidly to be able to get grains and food from America. Gas in exchange for food, and Europe is suffering with the gas and fuel problems. It's become a very big mess. Everything which was planned to go, everything which was negotiated to go, it just with one move and then a couple of months later with another move has changed the situation drastically, not just for Iran. There is a shortage of oil and wheat and other commodities right across Iraq, Iran, most of Middle East where Ukraine was supplying. And the Russians have taken all the southern ports, which means there is no export unless they decide. The political map has changed drastically in the past 60 days. And it's to the benefit of the American farmers who have a stockpile of wheat and the rest. We might see the same problem now in China. China imports 40% of grain. And part of this, what you call corona control, is food shortages. Nowhere except in China we see such heavy control on corona. In Europe as well, we are free. All the restrictions have been taken up right across. In China,
now struggling huge. We've seen an increase in fuel prices and gas prices sevenfold in the past year in Europe. And nations like Iran, who are gas exporters, are seeing massive income increase. And the West is paying it. They are bypassing the boycotts. Sanctions don't mean anything at the moment with Iran, because they have found a loophole to negotiation to get their things out that they don't run into problem with it. The peace negotiation with Iran is very, very one-sided at the moment towards the Americans. Nobody understood the strength of what we call bank control system through SWIFT. And this has brought a lot of pressure on many nations which they don't want them, or they want to bring them, what do you call it, financially to their knees, or bring them into problem. And Iran now has taken a side with China and Russia, and they see that they might win it. But this, nobody protects you if there's not something in it. And as I said to the American ambassadors yesterday, Iran technological advancement, plasma technology can become exchange for actions in Ukraine. Everything was set up at the last minute, everything perfect, till suddenly certain things changed deliberately to create more mayhem, but now mayhem has returned back to themselves. The prime minister don't have food to eat anymore, they can't afford it. Wages hasn't gone up, but the bread has gone on the table 10 times more, 7 times more from last week. We will see some new incomes, if what they call it, conditions, if these things last another few weeks. Any other question?
From Nicola and Lucia in the chat, Mr. Keshe, will there be a enhancement unit that will teach us to teleport, to teach or balance us to not eat food? Love from Serbia.
This system already exists, is in the Keshe Foundation Exhibition Center.
We just need to make it twin system and put it across the bridge. But now we are pushing through with the, what do you call it, the flight inhaler system. And that will be included as part of the same system.
And further question from the same person. Mr. Keshe, will you be at the workshop in Linz on 11th of June?
No. I never attend any workshops.
Okay. Miss May in the YouTube asks, will the virus herpes rub help with shingles? It is a herpes, very painful also.
Test it and tell us. Shingles can be remedied through this process. Yes. 100%. And I developed it myself because I faced with this till 2 years ago after a stroke. If you met me in conferences, my right side cheek was bruised red most of the time for years. I had a stroke on the board of a plane. And I developed this technique. That's what you're getting the benefit of it. I've been the guinea pig of it. If you test it for anything, let us know. You have to fill in the form, and it's what we call talking about the workshop in Linz, if I attend or whatever. If you let Casimir, the head of Keshe Foundation Sales and Promotion, to come online, he will tell you about the workshops. And Rick, you see him? Hello, Rick.
Yes, just a minute. So he put his hand up and jumped up to the top of the line. There we are. Go ahead, Krasmir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Hello to everyone. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello from the KFN sales team. Today I want to present to you to bring your attention towards the workshops that are going to happen in the exhibition center in Linz. Rick, if you can please help me to show it on the store website. So as you know, there are three basically workshops that are going to happen in the future in the Linz Exhibition Center. The first one happening on the 11th of June. It is 3 weeks from now. Okay, I can post the link to that in the chat. Overall, this is the basic GANs workshop. Like, we understand that a lot of people are currently into thinking about spaceships, thinking about deep space travel, thinking about the soul, and understanding the technology from this perspective, from this point of view. But we always have to go back to the basics. We always have to go back to the fundamental level of understanding of things in order for us to have a gradual and to have better development in our understanding of the technology. That is why, amongst old knowledge seekers, we are welcoming all new knowledge seekers, like a new wave of knowledge seekers, to come to Linz on the 11th of June and understand the basics, the foundation of this technology, namely the GANs workshop. How to create GANSes. We're going to give a basic understanding about the technology, not only from a theoretical point of view, but also from a very practical point of view, as we're going to show the production of nano-coated plates. You know that this is a very important process, and you need to be able to do it right. Because if you don't do it right, you will have a difference in the results, and it is not very much advisable. That is why we want all of the knowledge seekers to have a really good foundation of how to properly make the nano-coated plates, how to properly create the different types of GANSes. And that is why the overall program is focused towards those tasks. We are going to go through the theoretical understanding of plasma, so that we have the theory behind it, and then we move towards the practical applications. It is a preparation of materials, like the box for the GANs making, hanging of the plates, cutting of the plates, nano-coating the plates, the copper and zinc plates in particular, going through the process of the production of the 4 basic ganses, which we know are the CO2, CH3, copper oxide, and zinc oxide, with the various specific applications. Also, we are going to learn how to wash the salt away from the ganses. We still see people that are not washing their ganses and trying to use it there where they should be using the clean ganses. So we need to clear that. Also, we are going to learn how to transfer the ganses out from the container and the different ways of storing GANs and GANs water. In theory, everything sounds really simple, very easy to understand, which it is. But in practice, there are really small steps that we need to make sure are done correctly and precisely in order for us to get the good results. Because in the process of GANs creation, the interactions that we create, the conditions that we create are very much going to define what kind of GANs we're going to have, what kind of strength we're going to have, and how we can apply it later. So in this, if this basic fundamental process is done in a different direction than the direction that we intended, the results are also going to be different. So this is absolutely amazing opportunity, both for the old knowledge seekers to refresh their memories, to go back to basics, and also for the new wave of knowledge seekers that are starting to understand and are starting to engage with the technology to be able to create different applications of the technology. So once again, it's going to be Saturday, the 11th of June, 2022, from 10 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the Linz Exhibition Center. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of surprises. There will be a lunch break with lunch not included. And the cost for that is 350 euro, which includes all the materials that you're going to need during the workshop. Again, we cannot go far enough if we don't have strong base. The strong base has been part of we see it in sacred scripts and texts that you cannot build anything strong on a weak foundation. So with this workshop, we want to make sure that we have a strong foundation for the times to come, so that we create the conditions that we want, the conditions that we need for bringing peace on the planet. So I'm very happy to welcome you to this workshop. And don't forget that we have limited amounts of seats. So the sooner you book your seat, the sooner you're going to be sure that you're going to be among the few lucky people that are going to take part in this workshop. If we move further down on this store page, we're going to see that we are going to have a sculpture GANs workshop, the 18th of June, 2022. The same conditions from 10 to 6 p.m. With the lunch break, with no lunch included. We eat from the fields, so to speak, again in the Linz Exhibition Center. Costs, because of the materials and program, is yet to be announced. The next workshop that we have is the pottery GANs workshop. It is also towards the practical applications of the technology, to be able to create your own pottery, to have the knowledge and the skill to create your own pottery that is using the GANs technology, which can then be applied in very different fields. It is going to happen on the 25th of June. 25th of June, again from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. in the exhibition center in Linz. We will basically show you how to mix the ganses into the clay, but also you will learn about working with clay in general. not only clay with ganses, but working with clay in general. And you'll be able to create your very own Gans clay cup on the pottery wheel that is going to be present there. Because of all the materials that are going to be included there, the cost is going to be 450 euro. We are going to go through the theoretical introduction into pottery. Also, we're going to see a practical demonstration of preparing clay with ganses in several steps. A practical demonstration of throwing a cup on the pottery wheel, preparing the clay, working with the wheel. We will have a time to practice. We'll be able to trim the bottom side of the cup and complete the cup with different possible surface textures. Also, we're going to see the glazing process and final finishing of the cup. This workshop is also to show us that there are very different applications. There are so many people and so many applications of the technology. So we need with this to bring the inspiration back to you to understand that the GANS technology, the Keshe space technology can be applied in very different, very specific aspects of our lives. It does not need to be only space technology or health or agriculture or energy that most of the people are interested in, but it also will be practical applications in our everyday lives, practical applications for well-being, for beauty, for culture, for art. It is going to be part of our lives, so the sooner we get on board, the better. And with the people that are open-minded, open-hearted, and want to learn a new skill, at the same time combine it with the knowledge of GANS technology, this is absolutely perfect combination to combine the space technology and the application in a pottery GANS workshop. So once again, the first workshop that we're going to have is the basic GANS workshops on the 11th of June. Then on the 18th of June is going to be sculpture GANS workshop, and the 25th of June is going to be the pottery GANS workshop. You are very welcome to the Linz Exhibition Center. You're not only going to get in touch with the technology from the workshop's point of view, but also you'll be able to see all the current developments and old developments of the Keshe Foundation, all the products. You'll be able to meet with really nice people and get to know the foundation from the inside. So it's not only about the workshop, it's also about creating this community and getting to know each other and how to move forward with spreading the technology and spreading the knowledge that is aimed to bringing peace on our planet. Thank you very much, Rick, for the help. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, and thank you for all the knowledge seekers.
Thank you very much. Let me. The workshops which are taking place in the Keshe Foundation Linz are subject to be moved if need be to another position in Linz or within the, what we call the Linz Center due to other what we call tests and trials which will be carried on in the center. But essentially, there's very, very limited number of people, especially in the pottery and in the sculpture. We're looking at about maximum 10 people to be able to do, and it's very, very limited. And these are the what we call the masters in their work. These are not just knowledge seekers. Pottery is a scientist. This is what he does in the university. And this is not just somebody who knows pottery, the same as with the artists and the others. Somebody has sent a question back. Can we purchase anything to do with the tip, hip, and lip? They're already on the store in the Keshe Foundation. They've been since yesterday. And you can go and visit and take part in this trial test on a voluntary basis. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I have a hand up here with Jefferson. Go ahead, Jefferson.
Hello, Rick. Hello.
Yes,
we hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, hello. Good morning, everyone. This is Jefferson Rodriguez from Brazil. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. It's always a honor to talk to you personally with voice, and thank you very much for your teaching and the knowledge sharing from today and always, all the time. And thank you very much for the opening that you give for us or to us every week, so we can interact direct with you in the physicality as well as at soul level that you have been radiating to everyone in our levels and transmit your knowledge and your kindness. Thank you very much for this and for many things. I would like just to bring, I was reading again the book number 2, The Structure of the Light. And I think there is something to do with the teaching of today that earlier on. And I was reading the chapter about unifying the field theory. And in one point, you brought the topic about permanent magnets. And you state there, sometimes in the future, I will release a book for which the initial basic work has already been set. The book will be entitled, The Universal Origin of Magnetic Fields. In this book, I will explain how magnetic fields are generated and how plasmatic and specific matter's magnetic field exists in different dimensions. And this book is available for us one day to have it. Are we mature enough to have this knowledge? Because further on, I explained how the plasmatic magnetic fields in the universe does not need to carry the same mass or the plasmatic mass that we are having here. And the difference of these plasmatic interactions through the magnetic fields in other probably will be the same as the plasma enhanced unit that you're going to have in LINS as well, because as I understood it, we'll have one of those device machine will have no mass for us to see, but it carries the whole field strength, the plasma field strength of the universe. So that's what I would like to say to, and if you have the opportunity to read this book one day, that's going to be another bestseller in my view. Thank you very much for everything, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The book number 8, The Origin of Magnetic Field, is one of the last to be released because it takes man to the origin of creation. And we talked about the teaching part of this last week. It goes beyond what we call the creator, where that came from. That's what we're talking. The origin of the origin. Not halfway that it needs to explain by somebody else, and a lot of rigmarole goes into it. In so many ways, in teaching in the small parts, I have already filled in part of this book, ready to go. This is like the soul teaching. A number of knowledge seekers worked on the soul teachings, extracts from all teachings to be added as part of the totality of soul teaching. And this will be part of what we call the work, which over time, next years, will be released. I don't have at the moment time to write. And not only time, writing books like this is writing the Torah. Writing books like this is like writing the holy books. These are knowledge which is transferred. It is not something that is made up. And as I was explaining before, in respect to the first 3-4 books, most of these books are written in mountains in east of Belgium, in Flanders. This is where I used to go and write every day, consecutive days, till the books were completed. And then sit down and go through it and expand it. It's, as I was saying earlier on, we had going to the mountains, coming up with tablets and with releasing what suits. Going to the mountain, writing what it is, and is written, nothing is hidden. The book number 4, basically number 5 and 6, all have been written, and it's there. Book number 4 is more or less complete, these illustrations, but book number 8, which is the original magnetic field, will be one of the last books written before my departure. Then man has time to study it for centuries to come. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. We hope it is.
Okay, we have a question from Miguel in the chat. Mr. Keshe, how is it going to be managed, the entry or the border to access a ticket for a spaceship? Is there going to be a background check to take the bad persons away, like presidents, killers, or persons who attack the Foundation, or knowledge seekers? And the knowledge seekers are going to have the opportunity to be first on the ticket sales?
There is no preferences. We even allow the criminal kings and leaders to go in first. Then they'll be sorted by themselves. We have no plan at the moment for ticket sales, and at the moment everything is how it's going to be on the test trials, and then we'll see how things take shape. Any other question?
On the workshop, will it all be in English, or can someone with a different language background attend as well?
The GANS production the pottery, the painting, and the sculpture will be both in English and German. We have what we call soft toys, what we call for enhancement units, enhancement systems. This is will be done in Romanian and English. Basically, we are English-based structure. So, but if it's nationally to one language, it can be done. If you are Spanish and you want to hold the teaching in the exhibition center, write to us. It's not excluded and exclusive of German or English speaking. The exhibition center is open and many of you are invited in summertime. Come and see and add to the knowledge and to understand the progress and progression in technology. Last Monday when I was there was a team of about 10 or 15 people. They book morning and afternoon sessions. And Mario is there to explain and to show the progress in development. We will close the sections of the exhibition center very soon for a period for what we're going to use it for. But essentially, book your time for seeing exhibition, understanding it. You'll go in as one man and you come out as different, even though you think you've seen all of it and you know it all. Any other question? Should we call it a day?
There's one other thing I wanted to bring up, which is on the Universal Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit. I've entered it into the contest that we engaged in before, perhaps against my better judgment, but for fun and for possible exposure and so on. So let me just kind of share that.
Where did we come last year?
Well, we can have a look here, actually. Let me see. We can. We should be able to browse by the votes. Here's the final voting. Here's the final voting scoreboard in last year, 2021. And we placed second in votes. Number 2, the Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit with 386 votes. And you can see it did really well in views, actually. It was the highest in views in the competition. But then when it came to actually placing according to the judges, they didn't judge us very well. We did well in the popular vote, but not in the vote from the judges. So, and that was kind of expected, I guess, because Mr. Keshe even predicted it, and myself as well. But I kind of hoped that the judges would see a little more favor in terms of our project, but maybe this year instead. So this year, instead of the Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit, I've entered the, where is it on the list here? Just a second here, and I'll find it again. I see there's been a bunch of new entries. Let me just get back into my, where I just had it here. There we go. Okay, so this is the entry now for the Universal Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit for this year. And I've got a description about it. We're allowed a 500-word description. And I put a link to the store to actually purchase it and so on. And I've entered it instead of the medical category, which we had last year. I put it in the aerospace and defense category. So I thought that might be more appropriate. And so that should raise a few eyebrows in the aerospace and defense category. If we go to that category this year, there's some sort of design for an improved rotorcraft, ion jet. Here's something interesting, a magnetic energy outer space propulsion system, supposedly. And there's our Universal Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit. And these are just in order of how they were uploaded to the site. And in the category, these are all the aerospace and defense category. And there's a number of them. And reusable space vehicle launcher, long-range multi-role fuel cell electric aircraft and fuel system, and so on. Here's an interesting one, a space environmental protection, space shield, and so on. So there's a number of interesting entries. I think there's probably about 30 entries or so at this point. Now there's another month and a half or so till the end of June. Actually, the 1st of July is the end of this competition. So people have an opportunity in the next while to vote for the Universal Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit. And to vote, you need to sign in on this or log in. Either sign up or log in. If you logged in last year and voted, which a number of people did, then you just have to log in again and you can vote for the Universal Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit. Or if you didn't vote last year, you would need to sign up. You click on the sign up form, and there's a number of things you have to fill out, your name and address and so on, as they like to track those who enter and make sure it's a legitimate entry. So don't try to cheat by putting in multiple entries from multiple email addresses and so on, because they only allow one person, one entry, or one vote, basically. So for people that have already logged in last year, you simply log in your username and password, and you'll go in automatically, and you can then go to the Universal Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit or anything else you'd like to vote for. And at the end of the text, I believe it is, there's a place that you can vote. And instead of saying learn how to vote here, you'd be able to vote. I've already voted. I am the one vote that's voted for this because it was just put up a day ago, so we haven't had exposure yet to it. But I'll be promoting that in the next while, and hopefully people will get engaged and excited a little bit about the contest, and maybe we'll place well this year as well. It's even if the judges try to ignore us, the popular vote from the people seems to say we like it. So I think we need to say that again this year for this unit as well. Okay, I think that's
we
about
already
it.
know the results before we get there.
In a way. But
when is the deadline?
The deadline is July 1st, so we have a month and a half or so here.
Yeah, and you can vote only once.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for today's teaching and your time. And hopefully we should be able to do it again next week. So let's see. It'll be 434. Thank you very much, Rick, and everybody in the background making these teachings possible.
Well, thank you, Mr. Keshe. You've definitely made everything possible in the last couple of decades here of these this technology teaching, and the books and teachings from about a dozen years ago when we started these original workshops and teachings and whatnot. Thank you for being there for this whole time and never missing a workshop in spite of being every holiday and every possible religion of the world. Okay, thank you everyone for attending today's 433rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 19th, 2022. And we'll see you in the next public workshop, perhaps, which is the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace, which is coming up on Tuesday, May 24th. And that will be starting at 4 p.m. Central European Time, with members of the Universal Council who will be presenting that workshop. And you are invited to bring your problems from your country or from your language into the Universal Council to be solved in a soul-based manner. Okay, let's wrap up today's workshop, and I think I'm going to play the music version of the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit to go out with. Once again, thanks everyone, and see you next time around.